No one else can sue me. No one else can sue me. No one else can sue me.
What's up, guys? My name is Raysen. I also go by Ty in real life. Today I'm sharing a story near and dear to me. This, my dear listener, is the story of when I took acid for the first time in 4th hour history class my sophomore year of high school. My former friend Sean and I, he was my main crime friend in high school, for lack of a better term. We had wanted to try acid since we first saw Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I'm pretty sure. The first Cheech and Chong movie, Up in Smoke, contributed to this dream of ours too. The two together did. I'm not sure exactly which one we saw first, but I'm pretty sure it was Fear and Loathing. We were 15 or 16. We had been smoking pot together and turning it into a regular habit for maybe 6 months at this point. And with weed came watching a lot of TV, and with watching TV came movies, and with movies came drug movies, and with drug movies came the desire for adventure. I now knew drug dealers. I was getting older. I knew druggy kids, and I knew who wanted to be druggier than they were right now. There were a few of these drug-sensitive Padawans in my classes during the trimester this happened. We had trimesters, not semesters. One of them was Todd, a redneck kid who spent a lot of his day in the auto shop program, who, considering what I knew about his home life, was a lot less of an asshole than he could have turned out to be, although he was an asshole. Another was Shelby, a girl I was trying to date, and I was trying to get to smoke weed with me. Yeah, that part I have no pride in at this point in my life. I was a piece of shit in high school, and I thought of myself as like a ladies' man. In reality, I was a huge douchebag, but I didn't know that at that point. The final one I'll mention was Jaden. He was super cool, and he was like a normal enough dude at the high school. But he would randomly appear in the school building if drugs were present. Like, he was on the outskirts of that shit, but like in it. You'd be dealing weed. You look over, you see Jaden walking by, and he would nod and wink and be like, "Hey, the coast is clear. I was keeping lookout." Like, okay, good shit, bro. Like, I didn't expect that, but like, unsuspecting ally is what Jaden was. These people were in my 1st and 2nd hour classes, and I think all of them were in my 4th hour, except for Sean. Sean I didn't see after 2nd hour. We had like a 2nd hour class together, but no others. Earlier that week, Sean and I had scored acid from a dealer we normally got weed from, a guy called Rad. He looked like a high schooler, but no one I knew really knew his age. He was sort of the default mobile dealer for our side of town and age range. Like, when we got older, we didn't hit up Brad anymore. But I followed him on Snapchat for years, and I think he just messed with that little demographic heavily. I don't know what that says about him. Another time, I bought an ounce from Rad at his crib in a trailer park, and his girlfriend looked way too young, but I didn't know enough about the situation. The situation there. I didn't know enough about the Jersey Shore to stop him. The acid we got looked exactly like it did in movies. Exactly how I expected it to. There was a pattern on it, like a bunch of repeating smiley faces. It was very classic. I would also see like the bumpy diamond kind a lot, and there was acid that wasn't perforated, just like a card of hard paper. It was a Tuesday or Thursday when this story takes place. We had got the acid the previous evening, and for some reason we brought it to school today. We couldn't stop texting about it and talking about it. We rode the bus feeling a little more badass than all the other kids. Everyone at my school wanted to take drugs and act like a gangster, but, we were out here really doing it. Not the gangsters trip in history class. You see, my dear listener, we had read online that acid takes 2 hours to kick in. Rolling with this information was stupid for a few reasons, though. For one, it was a single source from, God knows where, I don't remember now. And two, it's a drug. How much you ate, drank, your weight, and your specific body chemistry all affect how you might feel. This was some serious faux intellectual armchair crackhead planning. I literally just found words on the internet and was like, oh, words are official. We had yet no concept of what we risked. By 2nd hour, the people knew. Sean and Raysen had come to school with acid. We couldn't stop bragging to the girls, both drug sensitive and drug curious, and also mainly other druggy boys. that we had acid and that we might drop it in school to maximize our time being high before school tomorrow, and that we were real deal hippies who didn't give a hoot about the system. One of my real best friends, Sam, was the first to really talk with us and know the whole deal. He would come find me a lot during this day. Also, remember, Sean and I were texting all day, but I didn't see him after second hour. Or I wasn't supposed to see him after second hour. Skip ahead to fourth hour history class. I had a few disciples. Young students curious about the path of the melted mind. Friends of mine who were wondering if I was really going to take the acid in school. Shelby was among them. And making sure she saw me, I let that tab of acid start melting on my tongue 20 minutes before fifth hour was supposed to start. Fifth hour classes were the last classes of the day. I figured I might feel a little buzzed, worst case scenario, but that it wouldn't be anything I couldn't handle, especially in this math class where I sat in the back and never contributed whatsoever. I was normally high in school anyway, on weed. Okay, so I'm in fifth hour. I started to get really, really high before 30 minutes had gone by. It was hot out that day, and I had worn this big brown coat I liked, and I'm a really pale guy who already gets red visibly easily. I looked like a cherry tomato, and snot kept pouring out of my nose, and my eyes kept watering, and I just had to sit there. Some people were catching on. I looked to my left, and there's a lot of normie kids catching glimpses of me. The bastards. And so is Todd, who knew what was happening with me. I had talked to him, but he was just entertained. And also looking at me was Jaden, who just looked straight concerned. I wasn't being called on by the teacher. I basically just had to sit and listen. But all this was happening to my face, and I was becoming aware of everyone, which I could handle. That much would be fine. But then the teacher started to make me laugh, bro. This guy and I had never spoken for real. I was failing his class, and now I'm clearly on drugs and clearly trying not to laugh at him, holding my mouth Dude, just the way he looked at the numbers on the whiteboard and then back at the students was killing me. His beard and his brown pants and his little butt were so funny. I was clowning on this guy against my will. Somewhere else in the building, Sean is also high and trying to navigate human society, right? But in my class, the teacher says it's time to hit our books and do work independently. We're doing our own thing. People are moving their seats around, forming groups, gathering in the far corners of the room. If I remain as I am, I'm going to become 100 times more obvious, and I'm going to have to try and talk to people, and that teacher will notice me more. This is not good. I'm panicked. I'm looking all around. I'm getting higher by the moment, and my eyes and nose keep pouring liquid, and all I have to wipe it is a thick brown jacket with a weird leather surface that sort of feels matty. Like one of those dogs at someone else's house. Todd or someone has already pointed at me and laughed. Get a load of this guy, sort of thing, My hands don't quite look normal. I want to crawl into the earth. That's when my fucking man Jaden appears behind me, puts his hand on my shoulder, and says, "Shut the fuck up. Come with me, shut the fuck up." And I just feel love from these harsh words, and I listen to him. He takes me to the back right corner of the class, positions himself in front of me, puts our backpacks up on the table as a sort of wall. He pulled a chair up to my desk, and we were just drawing and talking for the rest of it. It was really chill. And it was the first time I noticed the visual hallucinations and enjoyed them. Sometimes I would look up from my paper at Jaden, and his face would look like Andrew Jackson's, George Washington's, these wrinkly old dudes from portraits, just for a moment before returning to normal, I saw interesting symbols and Egyptian hieroglyphics on the paint in the wall next to me and on the classroom posters. My fingers were getting caught in knots if I looked at them right, and I would feel the most amazing feeling of cold air and calm up until class ended. Oh, I neglected to mention, the hallucination I remember best, I would look at my left arm and it looked like an old-timey map, like these patches of islands or land masses were on them, and they would shift around in the sea over the course of centuries in my head, and they would collide, and the life forms would meet each other like Columbian exchange style, Pangea to the Americas, and Africa used to separate. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, the final bell rings. It's chaos, but Jaden helped me get my things and get out. And on my way out, that fucking teacher looked at me like I was a Wendigo. In the hallway via Jaden, I meet up with Sam, who was probably just getting a load from me getting high, but I was so happy to see him. It felt like I won at life in that moment. The non-school parts of my school felt like a classic American movie, and on acid, leaving the building, it was like an episode of Zoe 101 or some shit. It was like the end of The Breakfast Club. It was like the movies I loved, dude, and I was the guy on drugs in it. I found Sean, also higher than he had ever experienced, and our minds found each other, too. We looked at each other like we fought together in Vietnam. We knew what the other one had saw and experienced, you know? And then we had a bus ride home that felt like we were on a pirate ship. On that bus ride, I took out my phone and recorded a message to my future self. The video showed myself, sweaty and terrified. I said to myself, Ty, bro, never do this again. This is not safe. Stay on Earth. Stay in safety. Except that's not how I said it. I said, Ty, bro, this is not safe. Stay on Earth. Stay in safety. Getting home and working through the rest of that first acid trip together is a whole other story that I would love to tell if anyone's interested. Thank you for listening. If you got this far, I got a lot of stories I would love and to tell and post in this format that I blatantly stole. I stole the format, not the stories. These are real. This did happen. Names have been changed. Subscribe to give me more power. Comment and let me know if you've done acid at school and how it went, dude. I love reading comments. You know, the 5 my channel has accumulated total. That being said, take it easy, take care, keep your head up, and be ready for an explicit revolution by the working class where the capitalists will pay for their crimes. Thank you.